critically endangered, but that's no longer the case. They're no longer endangered. We ended up shifting our focus over to barn owls, but we have helped with that as they are no longer considered threatened in Missouri. And now we're starting to focus on vultures. 10 out of 23 species of vultures in the world are critically endangered. And we have 5 species on property that we are working on breeding so that we can increase their numbers and hopefully get them back out into their native habitat eventually. But we also still do education. Education is incredibly important by reaching out to you, teaching you what is so cool about these birds, why they matter, why they are so important to our ecosystem is what's going to help conserve these species from going extinct. Now, today we're only going to be talking about eagles. There's plenty of raptors out there in the world, but we're going to be talking about eagles. And there's 62 different species of eagles that are found throughout the world. And we have 3 of them to show to you today. Now, those 62 species are broken up into 4 different groups. The first group is the forest eagles. It's things like your Philippines eagle, your harpy eagle, your long-crested eagle. They're found in rainforests and deep dark forests, usually in the southern hemisphere. The next one is going to be the booted eagle. The booted eagle, they have feathers that go all the way down to their feet, helps protect them against the elements and against things that they're trying to eat. The third one is the fish or the sea eagle. We think about them, the Steller sea eagle or the bald eagle. They're found near open waters or seas because they're eating a lot of fish. But the last one that we have is the serpentine eagle, and they are known for eating serpents or snakes. And so they have some adaptations that allow them to be very successful at that. So the first bird that we're going to be bringing out today is a serpentine eagle. And I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. There we go. And today I am presenting to you Tsavo. Tsavo is a Bateleur eagle, and they are native to Africa. Now, Bateleur is a French term that means acrobat or tightrope walker, and they get this name because of their acrobatic style in the air. Now, typically when we're thinking about eagles, we're thinking about how they're soaring hundreds of feet up into the air. Their wings are outspread. That's not outspread, Tsavo. That's flapping. Hairdo. I know. He's hair by eagle. But so rather than soaring overhead majestically like you're going to think with the bald eagle, he has long pointed wings that are very similar to a peregrine falcon. And so because he has those long pointed wings, it means he's going to be very agile in the air for being able to do steep turns and swoops and dives and do a lot of acrobatics as he's swooping through the air. Now, the other thing that allows him to help him do these swoops and the dives is going to be a very short tail. Out of all of the eagle species, he has the shortest tail. Thank you for showing that off. Perfect. You're getting to be really good at this, Saba. We really appreciate your cooperation. They have a tail that's about 3 inches long. So while it's not going to necessarily act like a rudder, it's also not going to get in the way. So he can make those little acrobatic rolls and swoops and dives. So he looks really cool as he's going through the air. Now, these acrobats that they do in the air are due to a couple of different reasons. The first is going to be for territory. If he has another male that's coming into his territory, he wants to show off how awesome he is. And so he's going to be doing some crowing and some posturing. He's going to make himself look big there. Good job. Good job. You're really, oh, that was a poop. Never mind. But then he's also going to take to the air and he's going to do swoops and dives and rolls. And he's going to make himself look as awesome as possible to say, I'm a better eagle than you. You need to get out of my house. But he also is going to do that in order to attract a mate. So one of the things that is really important when they're choosing their mate is if they're going to be a good provider. And so those males doing those swoops and dives are going to be able to show that they're really agile at doing what they do so that when the female is sitting on the nest, he's going to be able to bring her plenty of food because he's really awesome. Now, that small tail also serves another purpose for them, and it's because of their hunting style. Most eagles are going to be hunting on the wing or in the air, and they're going to spend most of their time perching and just a little bit of their time flying. But the Bateleur eagle is the complete opposite. They spend most of their time flying and a little bit of their time on the ground hunting after snakes because, thank God, snakes don't fly. That would be terrifying. So instead, by hunting after those snakes that are on the ground, that short tail is a really good way for him to keep himself safe. So what he's going to do is he's going to face off against that snake, and he's going to take out those long wings, and he's going to start batting at that snake from one side to another, trying to distract it, trying to get it to strike at his wings instead of at his face or at his feet. Because if his wings are going to get hit, or get bitten, it's not going to do anything. The tips of his wings are a lot like the tip of our hair. There's not really anything that's going to go wrong. If you cut it off, it doesn't do anything. Kids, don't cut your own hair. That's just a PSA to all the kids out there. But if the snake bites the tip of the wings, it's not a big deal. So while it's distracted by those wings coming out, he's going to run in and he's going to go strike at that snake. But if that snake strikes back, he has to be able to back up quickly. So having that short tail means that he is not going to trip over his own tail or over his own feathers trying to get away from the danger. Yes, that's true. You're big and you are bad. You are. Exactly. Now, he is able to hunt after venomous snakes because of another adaptation that he has that makes him very special. As Sandra brings him in, I'm going to show off these beautiful ruby feet that he has. Those feet are telling us that he is calm and he's just a little bit curious about what's going on, but he's not really feeling like he's in any danger because those feet are nice and red. Now, when he starts going into battle, he's got to prepare himself. And the first thing he's going to do is he's going to constrict the vessels going to his feet. So he's going to cut off the blood flow supply to his feet. So those feet are going to go from that beautiful ruby red to an orangish, almost peach coloration until it's a pale yellow, almost white. And what that means is he no longer has any blood in his feet, so that if that venomous snake were to bite him on the foot, there's no way for the venom to transfer into his system to make him sick and die. Yep, those are your feet. Those are very special tools. This is a very important thing because one of the most important tools of a raptor, besides its beak and its eyesight, are those very powerful feet for holding on to their food. So by protecting his tools, he's going to also make sure that he is going to be able to go on and hunt after his food for days and weeks to come. Now, Savo is a male, and we know this because of his coloration. Typically in the raptor world, you can't tell the difference between a boy and a girl because they look the same. It's not like a cardinal where the male is red and the female is a dusky brown, or even a bluebird where the bluebird has that beautiful brilliant blue and the ruddy chest and the female is kind of dusky on the back. For the females, that provides them with camouflage and extra protection when they're sitting on the nest, so that they're not going to have predators come upon them when they're vulnerable. And the males can be brightly colored to show how amazing they are. They would be as providers because they have all that extra energy to put into the color of their feathers. And with Battlelore eagles, it's the same thing. Savo has those beautiful silver gray that he has on his shoulders and his epaulets there. And it's really brilliant. But the females have browns and blacks, so they don't look exactly the same. And so by showing off how brilliant those colors are on his wings, he's showing exactly what a good provider he would be because he's got lots of food to put into, you're going to keep flapping, yeah, into making those brilliant feathers. Now, I think Savo has done an amazing job being ambassador to his species, and we're going to let him go back. And as Miss Sandra is putting him back, I'll let you know a little bit about why we have Savo at the World Bird Sanctuary. So Savo is with us because part of his wing doesn't have feathers growing in properly. The right wing right here has a section where there are no feathers that are growing, or they come in completely sideways. So for a bird that has to be able to have perfect feathers and perfect wings in order to swoop and dive and do the acrobatics, he wouldn't be able to do that. Plus, his ability to fly is completely compromised. He can only fly very short distances, like 50 feet or so. So not being able to fly to find his food, not be able to do the acrobatics in order to defend his territory or attract a mate, means that he wouldn't be very good for being out in his native habitat. So instead, the rehab facility in Africa picked him up, saw that he had this issue that wasn't going away, and ended up placing him at a zoo in Canada. From there, they had him for a couple of years and then asked if we would like to have this beautiful bird to use for our programs. And we said, absolutely, we would, because he is a gorgeous, gorgeous specimen of his particular species. Now, we started in Africa with the bird that had the shortest tail of all the eagle species. And now we're going to move ourselves across the way into Australia to the bird that has the longest tail of the eagle species. So the next bird that we're going to be bringing out is Duncan, and he is the wedge-tailed eagle. Gorgeous bird. Yes, you are. So Duncan is native to Australia, and they are a really remarkable bird. Now, they get the name wedge-tailed eagle because of the shape of their tail. It looks like a wedge. Now, while Savo had that short tail to allow him the agility to do the swoops and dives that he would need to do, be acrobatic while he was in the air, Duncan has a really long wedge tail that acts a lot. He wants your glasses. He loves to pick glasses off of people's faces.
Today.
He says, you would look better without your glasses. I know. So So that wedge tail acts like a rudder or a steering wheel because while he is not hunting after things on the ground, he is hunting after things on the wing. And that means that he has to be able to be agile and able to zip and go back and forth in order to hunt after the things that are on the ground. Now, he's eating a lot of small mammals. And as we know, if anybody's ever seen a rat or a mouse or a squirrel or a rabbit run, you know that they can run pretty fast and they zigzag as they're going everywhere. So by having that long tail, it allows him to zigzag with them in order to catch them. So that long tail rudder is really important for them to be able to catch their food. Oh, we're very happy. Yes, we are. He's finally become very comfortable with what's going on. Now, typically in the raptor world, most of them are going to be hunting by themselves because it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time to catch food. And once they catch it, they really don't want to share it. But wedge-tailed eagles are just a little bit different in the respect that they will hunt with they'll hunt with a partner. Either it might be their mate or it could be a sibling. And this is a really good advantage for them because it allows them to take down prey that is slightly bigger. Now, Savo here is about 8 pounds, and so if he's going to go after a jackrabbit or a bunny or something like that, he's going to be able to catch it really easy, and he's not going to have to share it because it's going to be pretty much what he's going to need in order to fill himself up. But sometimes they get their eyes locked onto something a little bit bigger, and so they're going to work with their partner in order to take down something a little bit bigger, like a wallaby or a kangaroo. They have been known very often to take down kangaroos, which is an animal that's anywhere between 100 and 150 pounds. And when you're working with a partner, it allows you to be able to take down that larger prey so you can get your fill of your food so you don't necessarily have to eat quite as often. So by working as a team, he learned that he's able to do a lot better and have a better chance at catching his food. Now, they are also very ferocious about defending their territory. So it's not unusual when they have their territory for them to drive off other animals that are in it, whether it is a dingo or a fox or another eagle or another bird. They've been even known to drive off hang gliders. So anytime you're going to go hang gliding in Australia, just make sure there's no wedge-tailed eagles around because there have been reports of wedge-tailed eagles come swooping down and attacking hang gliders that are in their territory because they're very, very ferocious about defending their area. And this ferocity has gone on to make them very popular as mascots or emblems to a lot of organizations. One of the most notable ones is the Royal Air Force, where the red-tailed eagle is not only their symbol, but also their mascot. Since the 1960s, they have had a wedge-tailed eagle as a physical mascot. The first one in the 1960s was Corporal Courage, and he was a very wonderful mascot for the Royal Air Force. Now, wedge-tailed eagles under human care can live to be about 35 or 40. So when Corporal Courage reached retirement age, they were able to let him retire in relative ease. All he had to do was sit around and eat some delicious food. And along came Corporal Courage II. Now, like with anything, when we're learning how to do something, we're not very good at it. When you're learning how to throw a ball or play piano or even do something as simple as running and building up your strength, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of practice to learn how to do these things. And so is the same with Corporal Courage II. In the first couple of years that he was learning to be the mascot and they were flying him around to do all the things that they do with him, Corporal Courage II decided to fly off a little bit further than they asked. Now, this happens a lot when we're flying our birds. They'll end up in a tree and they'll stay up there and they'll stare down at us like, yeah, I'm happy to be up here. You gotta get me down with a bit of rabbit or something. But Corporal Courage decided to take off for a little bit longer than that. He was missing for about 2 days before they found him, and he came back to them and he was perfectly fine. He was perfectly safe. But unfortunately, he got demoted to Private Courage for a couple of years until he earned his wings again, pun intended, and he became the official mascot for the Royal Air Force. Now, in Australia, I was talking a little bit before about how there's 23 different species of vultures found throughout the entire world. There are no vulture species that are found on the continent of Australia. And so the scavengers in the area have to fill up that niche. Now, Duncan and the wedge-tailed eagles there have very happily taken on the role of not only a ferocious hunter, but a really wonderful scavenger as well. So one of the things that Duncan has that a lot of the other birds don't is he has that very naked face. So even though he doesn't have any feathers on the front of his face, and it's because when he's scavenging after dead thing, it's going to be ooey and it's going to be gooey and it's going to be a little bit gross and a little bit liquid. And that stuff is going to stick to feathers. So if he has that face that is naked, that means that he's not going to be getting food stuck to it. So he's not going to be getting any bacteria or infections that are going to be happening from eating all of that decomposing flesh. So by helping out, by taking on the role of scavenger, he not only is a ferocious mascot and defender of the Royal Air Force, but he's also a defender of the safety and the sanitation of Australia by making sure that he's stopping disease from spreading by taking care of those carcasses. Such a great book. Yes, you are. Well, I think that Duncan has done an amazing job for his final program. Thank you so much, Duncan. You are great. And while Sandra takes him back, I'll tell you a little bit about Duncan. So he is one of 3 wedge-tailed eagles that you can find in the United States, and all of them are related. He has a sister and a brother, and they were all born at the World Bird Sanctuary. So Duncan is he's the least famous of the siblings. His siblings have been in TVs and movies and commercials. So his sister has been in Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel. She's also been in Evan Almighty, and as many of us girls are very jealous about, he was also in The Proposal with Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds. His sister got to meet Ryan Reynolds. We didn't. We're okay with that. That's fine. We understand. And then his brother has spent a lot of time being in commercials. So while his siblings are definitely Hollywood stars, he is also a rock star because he gets to teach people what is so amazing, not only about wedge-tailed eagles, but the things that his family and his species does in Australia to help out with a lot of the things that are there. So even though he's not famous, it's okay. He's famous to us. Now, the last bird that we're going to be bringing out is one that you absolutely are going to recognize. This is one of the most recognizable birds in the United States just because they are our national symbol. Now, the bald eagle is found only in the United States, only in North America. While many of the other species can be found across a lot of different countries, the bald eagle is only found in North America, which makes him really special for becoming the national symbol for the United States. And I would like everybody to meet McGuire. McGuire is a most handsome bird that we have here today. Now, we were talking about how Duncan had that naked face, how he had kind of a bald face. And as you're looking at McGuire, you're thinking, he's not bald. There's feathers on his head. Why would we call this eagle the bald eagle when there's feathers on it? And it's because it comes from the Old English word bald, B-A-L-D-E, which means white. Now, bird people are not really creative when it comes to naming birds. We get kind of lazy when it comes to it. So when they named him the bald eagle or the white-headed eagle, it was a really unimaginative name, but it was at least descriptive of what it was. Now, that bald head or that white head does not come to them straight from birth. When bald eagles are born, they are, excuse me, right. Anything else? And then what? Okay. All right. Did everybody get that? Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, McGuire. So when bald eagles are born, they are all dark brown, not only on their body, but on their head and on their tail. And with bald eagles, we can tell how old they are up to the age of 5 because it follows a very distinct pattern. So when they're first born, they have that dark head and dark tail, and then they have a black beak. But as they reach the age of 2, that beak is going to start lightening up a little bit, and they're going to start getting some white speckles on their body. By 3, that beak is going to be completely white or completely yellow, and they're going to have a lot more white splotches on their body. And then by 4, they have this really dirty head and dirty tail, and then at 5, they get the full white head and the full white tail. That being a really good visual cue to other mates to say, hey, I have made it past the hardest part of getting to be an eagle, which is making it past the first couple of years. I'm 5 years old. I am ready to make babies. And the other eagles are like, yes, you are. You sure are. So when eagles are building their nests, they're building them in big, huge stick nests at the top of trees. And they can range anywhere from 6 to 10 feet wide. They're very big. And every year they come back to the same nest. So they're just building on top of it. And the most notable nest that they have is been in Ohio, where the nest was 10 feet across, 20 feet deep, and it weighed a little over 2 tons when it brought down the tree that it was nested in. So they can just make immensely large trees or nests, which is also really important to other birds because a lot of times you'll have birds that will build their nests inside the little crevices of the eagle nest because it provides them with a little bit of protection. Now, bald eagles are a sea eagle or a fish eagle. Yes. You like fish? You like fish. You also like rabbit. So they are a fish eagle, and so they are able to hunt after these fish for a very specific reason. They have a lot of adaptations that make them very good fish hunters. So the first is their eyesight. They have exceptional eyesight. When people say you have eagle eyes, it is one of the highest compliments that you're going to get for your eyesight because it means you have very sharp vision. A bald eagle can read the newsprint of a newspaper from 3 football fields across. Now, I'd love to meet the eagle that read that newspaper. I haven't met him yet, but I would be very impressed. So that really good eyesight is really good for them. And when they're soaring hundreds of feet up in the air and they're looking down into the water looking for a fish, they're going to be able to see those fish swimming down there because of some of the other adaptations they have. So their eyesight is polarized. And what this means is that they're not going to be affected by the reflections on the surface of the water. So when we're looking at the water, it's often going to look blue or we're going to see reflections of the trees or the terrain around it. That's because we're seeing those reflections. But eagles don't have that. They are going to be able to see straight to the water and the fish below. The next thing they can do is they can account for the refraction in the water. So if anybody has ever dropped an object either in a sink or in a pool and you went to pick it up, you've noticed that it's really hard to pick up because the light bends and it makes it so that what you're grabbing at is slightly off. But because they can account for that in their eyesight, they're able to swoop down and catch that fish while it's in the water and they're not going to miss. Now, being able to catch that food is one thing, holding on to it is completely different. So they also have some tools on their feet that allow them to be able to hold on to that fish without losing it. If anybody has ever touched and held a fish, you know that it is very, very slippery. But bald eagles are able to hold on to them because they have this little special feature on the bottoms of their feet. We call them spicules. And essentially what it is like Velcro on their feet. So if we were ever to put him on carpet or cloth, it'd feel like Velcro is rubbing across the surface of it because they have little, it's a little way for them to be able to hold on to that fish so they're not going to lose control of it. So it's a very wonderful adaptation that they have. That's not the only thing that they eat though. They will eat things like squirrels, rabbits, muskrat, venison, ducks. But the chances are is if they caught it, they wouldn't necessarily have caught it themselves. They would have stolen it from another bird or another animal. Yeah, I know, McGuire. That's fantastic. You just praying. That's fine. But that's one of the reasons why Benjamin Franklin did not want to have the bald eagle as our national symbol. It's because he thought that they were a thief and that they were immoral. He wanted to have the wild turkey. But the bald eagle is a wonderful example of resilience, determination, and of being able to survive because of that white head and that white tail. They made it past the hardest times. Now, bald eagles didn't always have the best of times. Back in the 1960s, we had less than 400 breeding pairs in the lower 48 of the United States. They were becoming close to becoming extirpated, which means extinct in a specific range. And the cause of it was DDT. DDT was a pesticide that was being sprayed on crops so that the farmers wouldn't have their crops eaten by insects and other bugs. But what happened is that when it would rain, it would cause that DDT to get into the ground soil and then it would filter out into the streams and into the rivers where it was making a lot of birds sick. It wasn't just affecting bald eagles, it was affecting the peregrine falcon, the osprey, the brown pelican. It was also affecting a lot of waterfowl. But while it wasn't killing them, what it was doing, it was inhibiting or blocking their ability to produce calcium. So with females, they were laying eggs that had very thin shells. So when they laid on them in order to incubate them, the shells would crack or break. And so we were losing any bald eagles that could be bred. Fortunately, people were noticing that we were seeing fewer and fewer of these birds. And so they said something and they took action. And the government went and they did a study to figure out what was happening. They realized that it was the DDT that was causing this problem with the birds. So back in the 80s, we got rid of DDT and we began breeding programs for these birds in order to get their numbers increased. And we started working on conserving not only the bird itself, but the habitats that they were in as well, because they need wide open spaces. They need to have a lot of areas in which to perch so that they can sit next to streams and rivers in order to find their food. And by 2007, the bald eagle was delisted from the critically endangered list, and they are no longer considered critically endangered. In fact, we have over 80,000 breeding pairs of the bald eagles in the United States. Yes. I can't tell. He's very excited about that. Very excited.
It is also very loud.
Yes, yes, especially in the ear, especially in the ear. But I'm getting ready to tell them. Do you want to do this? Just because bald eagles are no longer endangered, it doesn't mean that they're not still in danger. There's still plenty of things that causes not only bald eagles, but a lot of birds of prey to be at risk. They get hit by cars because they're hunting by the side of the road because we throw out trash that's bringing the small mammals. Or in the case of bald eagles, they're moving from one area of their territory to another and they don't see the cars in order to avoid them. They're getting caught in fishing lines because fishermen will cut off any kind of snagged or tangled fishing line. It'll get wrapped around their feet or their wings. It's been happening not only in eagles, but falcons and geese and ducks. And so we want to make sure that that fishing line is a danger to them. They fly into walls and power lines. And the worst is that they get lead poisoning. So McGuire here is about 9.5 pounds, and it takes less than 1 gram of lead to bring down a bird this big to make them sick and cause them to die. So one of the things that we ask people to do is to remove lead from our activities. We ask if people go hunting that they use copper or steel shot. If you're going to go fishing, use a metal alternative from lead so it's not leaching into the ecosystem. It's the easiest thing that we can do in order to help out these birds. But not only that, there's a lot of really easy things that we can do to help save these birds. We can pick up our trash so that we're not throwing it by the side of the road and we're not attracting small critters to a very dangerous hunting area for the raptors. We can make sure that we're picking up that fishing line and throwing it into the trash. And the biggest thing is recycling. If we recycle, we're going to stop removing limited resources, and instead of shrinking habitats, we'll be able to continue to grow them so that they have more space in order to not only have their homes, but the homes for all the animals and plants that go into that ecosystem. But the biggest thing that you can do is tell one person, just one really cool thing that you learned today about any one of these birds, because it's people like you that when you care about these birds, you care about saving these birds as well. And I can reach out to you, but you guys can reach out to so many more people with your enthusiasm and your love for these birds. So I want to thank everybody for coming out today or tuning in today. I keep saying coming out. Nobody came out, just us. For tuning in today, staying home, staying safe in your area. We really appreciate it. And I hope that you guys learned a lot. And we're going to check to see if there's any questions. If you have questions, please put it into the chat. And I'll be very, very happy to answer them for you.
All right. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box. You can put it in the Q&A, but we usually just utilize the chat box.
They've been putting it in.
Have they? Okay. I will check
Take them
both.
anywhere they're at.
That's right. Wherever you'd like to ask the question. It's like I've done this a couple times. I know what I'm doing. Not seeing any questions at the moment. We'll give it another minute. If we don't have any questions, we'll just go ahead and close out.